Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. My name is Chaz Andres, and as always, let's get started with the news. The biggest story of this week, well, it's pretty clearly the fact that War of the Spark is really making an impact on Magic Online. Wizards' latest set is making waves as far back as Vintage, and that's pretty rare. I mean, it's not often you see staples that show up in Standard, Modern, Legacy, and Vintage all just 1 week after being released. So, which cards have made the biggest impact so far? Well, if you take all formats into account, it's probably Karn the Great Creator and Narset Parter of Veils. I'm going to be talking about both of those cards in greater detail later on, but for now it's worth noting that they've been showing up in all 4 major formats, and I don't think that's going to change. I'm going to say this several times in this video, but you're definitely going to want to get your sets of Karns and Narsets at some point soon, because both cards are really good, both in Standard and Eternal play. I'd also like to take a moment to highlight a card that I think might actually be the most powerful one in War of the Spark. I'm talking, of course, about Teferi Time Raveler. Now, Teferi's price chart has been disappointingly flat so far, both on MTGO and in Paper Magic, no spikes to speak of, but I think that is about to change. Thing about Teferi is that he shows up in roughly half the good decks in Standard right now, and is also starting to make waves in Modern. In fact, the Azorius Control deck that I like the best right now runs a full 4 copies of Teferi Time Raveler. And, as you know, modern playability is the key to value on MTGO. So right now, Teferi might not be the most exciting in terms of where its price has been, but I feel really good about where it's going. On the flip side, Liliana Dreadhorde General, which I absolutely loved during preview season, has been nothing but a disappointment so far. It's showed up from time to time as a 1-of or a 2-of in Esper Control or some flavor of Grixis, but it hasn't even looked all that great against the decks that are the best in the metagame right now, which is Mono Red and a lot of different flavors of white-based aggro and Esper Control. Granted, this can change at a dime, and next week we could be talking about Liliana's big rally, but for now, I'm not seeing it. I don't think this one's going to end up back above the 10 ticket mark again anytime soon unless something drastically changes. Let's move on now to Gaining Ground, where in Standard, the card that gained the most ground this week was Karn the Great Creator. Karn jumped about 11 tickets from 6 up to 17, roughly tripling in price. And gosh, I hope you watched last week's video and took advantage of the time when I said, hey, this card's definitely on the rise because it's selling at crazy numbers and it's going to be worth a ton, so yeah, I hope you bought it under 10 because this one is not dropping off anytime soon. This value is 100% due to the fact that it's been nuts across the Legacy, Modern, and Vintage games I've seen over the last couple of days. Seriously, take a look at some of these MTGO results. You will see Karn all over these top decks, often as a 4-of. So yeah, Karn might actually be the most important Vintage and Legacy card printed over the past year or so, and the only reason it isn't heading from 17 tickets up toward Arclight Phoenix numbers is that, well, it's not a mythic rare, and War of the Spark has several other exciting cards in it too. Regardless, 17 tickets is still a totally fine price to hold at, and I really like Karn's long-term profile. This card is good, it is good for a reason, and is not going to be hated out of the format. Let's move over to Modern, where our biggest gainer of the week, surprise surprise, for the second straight week, we've got Mycosynth Lattice. Much like Karn, Mycosynth Lattice also jumped 11 tickets this week, from 9 all the way up to 18, and that price chart is still pointing straight up at the moon. And this is an especially impressive return for a card that was a bulk rare. I mean, it was a fraction of a ticket as recently as April Fool's Day. At this point, you probably don't need me to tell you why Mycosynth Lattice is gaining ground. It's obviously because of the combo potential it has with Karn the Great Creator, the card we just talked about, where you can run Mycosynth Lattice in your wish board and wish for it with Karn and lock people out of the game, and it's really cool. What I did want to highlight here, though, is that Ensnaring Bridge is also a big part of this package. It's another really good card to wish for with Karn, and that card is actually starting to tick up in value as well. It's up about 3 tickets this week, and I think it has more room to run. So if you're picking up these Karns, if you're picking up these Lattices, don't forget to pick up Ensnaring Bridge as well. Let's move over to our biggest losers, where in Standard, the biggest loser of the week was yet another repeat offender. It's Arclight Phoenix, dropping another 5 tickets from 35 down to 30. Again, we've talked about this in previous weeks. The reason for the drop is because Arclight Phoenix has passed out of Guilds of Ravnica's set redemption window, untethering its price from paper Magic for good. Now, I don't think this one's going to zero. Remember, Arclight Phoenix is still a very, very important card in Modern. Modern values still count for something on MTGO, but at this point the price chart is still pointing down, so I wouldn't buy in quite yet. Where's it going to end up? Well, I don't think it's going to go lower than 20 tickets. I think 25 is a pretty reasonable target, but things have been a little weird on MTGO over the past 6 months, so there's no way to say for sure. I would just stay clear of this one for the next few weeks and see where it ends up bottoming out. Let's move back over to Modern, where our biggest loser of the week was Auriok Champion, losing about 6 tickets from 21 down to 15. And honestly, gang, I can't come up with a good reason for why. Humans has been kind of resurgent in Modern lately, and in Paper Magic, Auriok Champion is a card on the rise. It's gone up by 20 or 25% over the past couple of weeks, so I don't know, hasn't been a treasure chest update. Couldn't tell you why. At any rate, this card is still heading down, which means that at some point there might be a nice buy low opportunity. Definitely keep an eye on this one if you're in the market, because yeah, the underlying metrics for Auriok Champion, they don't support this drop, so at some point you can probably expect a rebound. Let's move on now to our sneak of the week, which this week is a card that is prohibitively expensive in the world of Paper Magic, but is still rather affordable on Magic Online. I'm talking, of course, about Grim Monolith, a card that is $125 in paper, but was just 2 tickets on Magic Online a couple of weeks ago. It's up to 9 tickets now and continuing to rise, and I think it is going to keep going up. That's because this card is really, really good in Legacy with Karn the Great Creator and to a lesser extent Ugin. Those Eldrazi post decks in Legacy, those ones with 4 Grim Monoliths, are doing really, really well, and they're going to continue to be a bigger part of the format going forward because Karn's not going anywhere. Karn plays really well with Grim Monolith. This card, Grim Monolith, also has a price history of being around the 20 ticket mark, so I think 9 is this card's new floor. Definitely buy in now. I would not be surprised to see this one gain 3, 4, 5 tickets a week for the next couple of weeks. As always, we're going to end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us the best idea about which cards are selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, Narset Parter of Veils was the clear runaway winner of the week. And that makes a lot of sense. I talked about this card a little at the start of the video, I'm ending by talking about it, and that is because it is very, very important. It is a multi-format staple. It is showing up in decks in Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and you are going to want to pick these up while it is still just about 1 ticket. Yeah, I know it's an uncommon, but it is going to be a staple across all forms of Magic for years to come. You don't want to wait until after people finish drafting War of the Spark to snap these up for your collection. Now, in terms of overall sales by price, it's all Modern cards all the time at the top of this list, and that's pretty common, it's expected, but what's a little bit of a surprise is which card has reached number 1. It's actually Liliana of the Veil, a card that I haven't seen at the top of this list for a couple of months at least. Liliana's price hasn't moved in a while, so maybe this could be a buying opportunity. After all, Karn the Great Creator was way up on this list last week and we all saw what happened there. So I don't know what's going on with Liliana, but if you've been holding off on buying these for a while, if you've been in the market, I definitely think about picking them up soon. And that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.